Far too often, we are faced with cases that remain unsolved forever for a multitude of reasons. Whether that be because of a missing name, a missing link, or damning evidence that is just out of our grasp. These cases seemingly run cold. But every so often, new evidence is brought to light, bringing forth new light and new attention to these cases, and just sometimes, these cases are solved. Today's episode covers a cold case finally solved after 62 years. In two cases, one step closer to justice. 9-year-old Candice Rogers was a sweet young girl living in Spokane, Washington in 1959. When she wasn't at school, Candice loved to play outside and was involved with the Bluebirds, which was the younger group of the Campfire Girls of America. On March 6, 1959, Candice left the home that she shared with her mother, only to never return. Her disappearance and then subsequent murder would rock Spokane, Washington, and destroy the sense of community and safety that everyone held. Candice said goodbye to her mother and headed out the door on the evening of March 6, 1959, not knowing that she would never be coming back. Armed with boxes of campfire mints, Candice intended on going around the neighborhood to ask people whether they would like to buy some. She had just 7 boxes that she still needed to sell and made sure to stay within the confines of the neighborhood where she felt safe. As the hours ticked by, Candice's mother began to worry. It was out of character for her to be gone so long, and as the darkness rolled in, her panic only grew. After a few hours, her family decided to go out and look for her. And when people in the neighborhood heard her mother shouting Candice's name, they decided to join in. Soon, hordes of neighbors and locals joined in, hoping to find Candice playing in someone's garden, having forgotten to tell her mother where she was. When the whole area had been canvassed, the local police were informed, and a swarm of squad cars descended upon the area. The Spokane police searched throughout the night, and as morning came, more agencies joined in the search. According to DNA Solves, groups including the Air Force, Marine Corps Reserve, WWP, Inland Paper, International Harvester, the U.S. Postal Service, and the Boy Scouts of America offered their assistance in the search. During the search for Candice, 3 people flying in a helicopter died after hitting a power line. But still, the search continued for Candice. In the hours after Candice's disappearance, investigators found 6 boxes of mints scattered near a bridge and knew that the outcome would likely be tragic. Everyone in Spokane was now on the lookout for the little lost girl, each day hoping and praying that they would turn on the radio and hear that she had been found safe. 2 weeks after Candice's disappearance, her body was discovered by 2 soldiers from the Fairchild Air Force Base. According to Unsolved Mysteries, Howard S. Lawrence and Richard Bergen were out hunting in a remote part of the woods, around 12 miles away from Spokane, when they came across a pair of tiny blue suede shoes. Alarmed at what they had found, they contacted the Spokane police, and soon, officers had descended upon the area once more. As officers edged closer to the discovery site, one of them saw a tiny knee sticking out from a pile of pine needles. The officer carefully brushed the pine needles and tree branches away, and it was here that he discovered the body of Candice Rogers, who had been missing since March 6, 1959. Candice had been kidnapped, strangled, and sexually assaulted before the person responsible covered her body with pine needles and tree branches, in the hopes that she would never be found. Candice's family was soon informed of the news, and the whole community was heartbroken to hear that the little girl had been found deceased. Now that she had been found, the Spokane police turned their attention on finding the person responsible and bringing them to justice. Despite a public outcry and huge investigation by the police department, little progress was made in Candice's case. Hundreds of new leads were chased down to their ends, and without physical evidence, her case quickly ran cold. Hugh Morse was considered a suspect in Candice's case. and he was found guilty for 2 similar crimes in 1959 and 1960, respectively. It wasn't until the early 2000s that he was conclusively ruled out, using a DNA sample that was obtained from Candice's body. This sample was also entered into CODIS, which is an acronym meaning the Combined Index DNA System, but still no matches were found. Again, this case went cold, and the hope of finding Candice's killer quickly faded. That was until 2021, when Othram Inc. stepped in. According to their press release, Othram was contacted by the Spokane Police Department in February of 2021 and asked for assistance into Candice's case. In their release to the press, they wrote, "The DNA extract derived from the crime scene was degraded and burdened with non-human DNA, neither of which was surprising given the age of the case. Othram received the DNA extract in March 2021. An Othram scientist used forensic-grade genome sequencing to develop a comprehensive genealogical profile from the DNA evidence. Once Othram had successfully extracted and developed a DNA profile, they then searched for relatives and distinct genetic matches. From here, they created a family tree and slowly worked through the pool of suspects. By Saturday, May 1st, 2021, Othram had whittled it down to 3 brothers and handed this information over to Detective Zach Storment of the Spokane Police Department. From here, Detective Storment was able to reach out to the daughter of one of the suspects, named John Rain Hoff, who had passed away in 1970, and obtained a DNA sample from her. According to Othram, the daughter provided a DNA swab, and the forensic team was able to establish strong evidence of paternity between the unknown male DNA profile from the crime scene and the profile developed from the daughter. John Rain Hoff was then exhumed and a DNA sample was obtained. Just weeks later, the Spokane Police Department, in conjunction with Othram, announced that the murder of Candice Rogers had finally been solved after 62 years. John Rain Hoff was the person responsible for the horrific crime. And as previously mentioned, John passed away in 1970, and there's still an active investigation into how he may have known Candice, and if he was involved in any other crimes. John Hoff's daughter said in a statement, "I am very, very sorry for what my dad did, that he took her life, horribly. I hope that it gives her peace knowing that, even though it's not really any justice because he doesn't get any punishment, but that his name has this on it now, and they can know it's solved." 18-year-old Erin Foster and 17-year-old Jeremy Betchel were childhood friends and had grown up together in Sparta, Tennessee. By the year 2000, the two were slowly approaching adulthood and looking forward to everything that life had in store for them. Unfortunately, one night, they would simply drop off the map, and it wasn't until 21 years later, with the help of a YouTuber, that the mystery of what happened to them was finally uncovered. On April 4th, 2000, Erin and Jeremy headed to a party in Erin's black 2-door 1998 Pontiac Grand Am. Different sources report different things. Some sources state that the 2 teenagers were headed to a friend's house, whilst others report that they dropped Erin's brother Will at home after being at an arcade before heading back out to the party. At around 9 p.m., Jeremy called his father, Ronnie, to ask him for a ride home the next morning. He gave them the address of where he'd be and told him that he would see him later. However, when Ronnie arrived at the address the next morning, there was no sign of Jeremy, Erin, or Erin's 1998 Grand Am. This alarmed Ronnie, and after discovering that Erin hadn't made contact with her family either, the local police became involved. Despite numerous searches, no signs of the missing teens was ever found, and as Sparta was a small town, people began to talk. There were whispers of a possible drug deal gone wrong, or that they had been in the wrong place at the wrong time. These whispers did nothing to help the investigation. There was even a rumor that Erin had run off to Pensacola, Florida, but nothing ever materialized from this lead. Erin and Jeremy's families never gave up looking for their children and hoped that one day they would finally learn what happened to them. Then in 2021, 40-year-old diver Jeremy Sides, who runs the channel Exploring with Nug, traveled to Sparta, Tennessee to search for the missing 1998 Pontiac Grand Am. Sides and his team traveled to Sparta to conduct their own investigation and decided to use side-scan sonar equipment to survey the rivers and bodies of water in the Sparta area. At first, they didn't find any leads, but after the sheriff's office caught wind of the investigation, they reached out to Sides and informed him that he had uncovered a huge clue. According to All That's Interesting, a report had been misfiled all those years ago and had just been recently discovered. This report stated that Erin and Jeremy had been driving near Calf Killer River and that Sides and his team should turn their attention there. After learning of this discovery, Sides and his team returned to the Sparta area, and not long after, they spotted a car on their sonar equipment. The car was dragged from the river onto solid ground, and after running the license plates, it was determined to be the 1998 Pontiac Grand Am that belonged to 18-year-old Erin Foster. The investigation into just how Erin and Jeremy ended up in the river is still ongoing, but we are that much closer to finding out the truth. In a statement to The Sun, Jeremy Sides said, "I'm lost for words. I'm so glad I could find them. I'm so sad that that's where they ended up. I can't believe it's been over 20 years that they've been sitting there, waiting for someone to find them." 22-year-old Tyesha Bell was working hard to get her life back on track. She had dropped out of school when she was just 16 years old and had her first child at 17. According to her mother Lorna, Tyesha wasn't ready to take on the responsibility of being a parent, and she took in her firstborn child. After this, Tyesha gave birth to another child and realized that something needed to change. She was actively looking for work and trying to turn her life around and be there for her children. By 2003, Tyesha was living in an apartment with her sister in Aurora, Illinois, and was slowly getting her life back on track. Her family were extremely proud of her and were happy that she had found a direction in life. Their lives would be shaken up on May 10, 2003, when Tyesha failed to return home. Her family would be sent on an 18-year hunt for answers and justice, and it wasn't until 2021 that they finally got the answers they had been so desperately searching for. According to her sister Latasha, who Tyesha had lived with, on May 10, 2003, Tyesha received a phone call and walked outside of their apartment to answer it and to have some privacy. Bizarrely, Tyesha never returned, and after an hour or so had passed, Latasha went to investigate and see where her sister had gone. After searching around outside and finding no sign of her sister, she called her mother to let her know what was happening. Tyesha's personal items were still in the apartment, and when Tyesha didn't answer her phone, her mother reported her missing. According to sources, Tyesha's family left over 50 voicemails, begging for her to let them know that she was safe. All of these messages went unanswered and also unread. Wherever Tyesha was, she wasn't able to get to her phone, and her family quickly realized that something was very, very wrong. Tyesha's sister even said that there were candles still burning and that the TV was still on when she walked outside to answer the phone, and gave no indication that she had any plans to leave that day. Investigators turned their attention to the father of Tyesha's first child. However, he was quickly cleared as a suspect when the police determined that he was not involved in any way. The investigation continued, but with little evidence to go on, Tyesha's disappearance ran cold. Her family never gave up hope that one day they would find out what happened to Tyesha. Then on December 11, 2020, Tyesha's case saw a huge break when human remains were discovered in a remote wooded area in Kane County. Kane County Coroner Bob Russell told ABC 7 Chicago, A number of bones were found along with clothing and other personal effects. After the scene was processed, the coroner's office removed the remains and brought them to the Kane County morgue for additional testing. Months passed and the results were still pending. But then in March 2021, Tyesha's family received a call they never thought they would get. The remains found in December 2020 in a remote wooded area were the remains of their missing loved one, 22-year-old Tyesha. According to reports, DNA samples and dental records were used to confirm Tyesha's identity. During the press conference, the Aurora Police Department said, "Our detectives continue to have working theories in Tyesha's case, but we need more information before criminal charges can be authorized. We implore anyone who may have information to please come forward." Tyesha's case is being treated as a homicide, but the Aurora Police Department needs more information and the right people to come forward. Anyone with information is urged to contact the Aurora Police Department at 630-256-5517 or email at tips@aurora.il.us. That is it for this one. Thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe. This will help my channel grow. If you have a future story suggestion or would like to contact me directly, you can do so by emailing me at creepyunsolvedmedia@gmail.com. Looking for more content? Be sure to visit creepyunsolved.com, where you'll find podcast episodes, YouTube videos, and the Creepy Unsolved blog. Until next time, this is Dylan signing off. I look forward to your comments below.